Hi everyone, Anthony Montano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new McKinley Dixon record, Beloved Paradise Jazz. This is a brand new LP from Virginia rapper McKinley Dixon, following his pandemic breakout record, For My Mama and Anyone Who Looked Like Her. A record of really ornate, dense, and conscious jazz rap that made for one of the best underground releases of that year, though maybe not the most distinct considering some of the comparisons it drew to artists like Kendrick and Avantdale Bowling Club. But the rapping and instrumentals across this LP were pretty solid, even if very obviously they were kind of homespun and a little rough around the edges. Ultimately came away from this project thinking Dixon was an artist worth watching, so that's why I checked out this new project. Which, going into it, I was kind of surprised and maybe a little worried because it was like 20 minutes shorter than its predecessor and overall doesn't even reach 30 minutes in length. Is this thing even an album? Is it just a glorified EP? I don't know. But you know what? After listening to it, even though this thing is pared down runtime-wise, I found the rapping to be more distinct this time around, and the instrumentals are freaking incredible and totally next level. Really fitting again in that jazz rap pocket, but now just like, wow, really grand, really layered, really mountainous. Right from the start of this thing, it's clear that McKinley is going to be coming from a different place sonically and instrumentally, bringing us on a journey that is going to be more cinematic, because track one, we have HANIF reads TONI, which is a spoken word interlude slash intro, and a pretty eerie reading of a Toni Morrison passage, one that shifts between sounding idyllic and also kind of unsettling. This passage ties into the record once again later on the song dedicated to Tar Feather, which may also be another allusion to Toni's work, because the nods to her don't just make for a cool little poetic intro on this album. The influence runs deeper than that, as even the title of this record itself is a nod to 3 books in her Beloved trilogy. And furthermore, you can tell from McKinley's pen game that he's well-read and has a narrator's heart, and really wants to write and assemble something that is larger than himself, which is apparent right from the first full song on the record, Sun I Rise, an honest-to-God stunner between its harps and big drums and flowery strings. Listening to this song feels like just hanging in the classiest, most well-decorated room. It's really giving little Simby levels of just grandiosity with the background instrumentation. And once more, Dixon is sounding more expressive than ever on the vocal and lyrical side, especially in the second verse as he's dropping lines like, "We bent the block so many times, car almost flipped right over. Said I became a better liar as I've gotten older. Is it 'cause the tongue got sharper or 'cause my heart got colder?" Again, moving, poetic, incredible start to the project. Mezzanine TIPPIN by comparison isn't as sweet on the ears, but it is a superb expression in griminess. The loose and noisy percussion on this thing sounds like bike parts rattling, coins dropping, chains. The blood-curdling strings on this track are amazing too. There are a lot of very creepy, demonic, doubled-up vocals as well. It's freaky and deeply unhinged, easily the darkest pocket on the entire record. The rich piano chops and twinkling leads and big catchy group vocals make Run 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 a lot more anthemic by comparison. It's a cute tune but has a grave contrast as the chorus's lyrics deal in running away from guns and gunshots in a playground setting. And it's a song of survival and connecting with others, as well as persevering beyond the threats to your life in violent surroundings, or just kind of suffering under a system that makes it more likely that you're not going to live past your 20s. It's ultimately a song of survival and connecting with others. In terms of its messaging and its background instrumentation, it's very Roots-esque. Then there's the smooth and glamorous Live from the Kitchen Table, which not only sports a great feature from Gais Guevara, but Jesus, the sweet keys, the saxophones, the bass. How is all the instrumentation on this thing coming together? Because it sounds better and richer than a lot of the stuff I hear on mainstream records. Somehow Dixon fit the sound of a big budget in a really small package. There's also the grand horn lines on the track Tyler Forever, which sound kind of like the grandiose horn sections that you hear attached to a marching band or a drum line, but with a southern beat kind of hanging in the back of it. And a handful of witty metal-themed bars before we hit one of the choruses on the song about 9 dudes being masked up in a van, them boys Slipknot. I also love the beat switch in the second half of this track too, where the instrumentation all of a sudden goes super soft, kind of fairy tale. We also have the story so far, as well as as the actual Story So Far song itself, where I think we hear our first major misstep on the project. Celine Hayes' feature, I thought, as far as delivery and vocal presence, was just okay. Felt a bit off. Even the mix on it, I think, could have been a little better. Dig the vibe, dig the content, but I just don't think it's the strongest placement on the record. But overall, even as a low point, it's not that bad. Like, this track is still pretty good overall, and just one more pretty positive addition to a very solid track list, which brings us to the very grand and jazzy closing title track with those nimble lead melodies and the group vocals and the kids chorus. Dixon is really pulling out all the stops on this record and going all in on like this 28-minute little project, which again, I'm just amazed at how much meaning and emotional depth and complexity and punch this thing carries in the runtime that it has. There's not a lot of material here, but what material is here is just like so damn oof. There's not a lull, there's not a stop, there's not a nothing on this project. And even the moments that are, you know, kind of introductory or, you know, a bit of an interlude or something like that, they still add so much to the record overall. Yeah, this is like really one of the rare instances where an artist like shortens, you know, the length of what they're putting out, and it somehow just ends up being more fire, as I'm feeling a light 9 on this project. Yeah. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, McKinley Dixon, forever.